Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS 82 apostrophe, with episode 2 of what I'm calling my Crazy 5's. And I think I'm going to keep what I'm doing and go every other week. So Italy's Holocaust will drop one week, the next week Crazy 5's, then Italy Holocaust, and just keep on like that. Kind of easy like that. So this one, now, I have several ideas lined up for these. But Jason over at Horrific Nightmares, our Tuesday reviewer, recently reviewed a film, and I thought to myself, now there's an interesting concept. Why don't I look at that? And so I went back way deep into the archive of my archive, and the last time I touched on remakes, everything I do based on what's on my shelves behind me. If I can't hold it up in front of you, I'm not doing it. So if you wonder why this movie or that movie may not be in my list, but based now, I've gone from like maybe 6 or 7 remakes. I'm probably 16, 17 now, maybe remakes scattered throughout the collection. And so I thought, you know what? I wonder how my list now would look now compared to back then, considering I really didn't have a lot to work with. One thing's definitely changed for sure, and that is, don't expect this to be on my list. This is not a remake. I'm not getting into it right now. I have another video somewhere in my archive deep down. I do not believe this is a remake at all, period. If it were a remake in my mind, it would definitely be in this list, but it's not. So if you're wondering why you're not seeing this one in my list, that is why. So remakes, I was mentioning to guys on the crew while we were chatting last night, there was a day when I was not a remake fan. I did not like remakes at all, period. I've come a long ways in that thought process. And you see one of them right up there, which I revisited last night. I've come a long ways. There was a day when no good remake existed. I've really come a long ways. So anyways, remakes. Oh, those remakes. Let's do this, man. So against what I have in my collection, here are the 5 absolute standouts. If you're gonna do a remake, you ought to listen to one of these guys. Here we go. Now, everything is based on chronological order in terms of release date. I'm not getting into the business of which should be number 1 versus number 3. I'm not. I got too much to do to think that far and deep. It's hard enough just to come up with a good solid 5. And so I'm gonna let chronology, and it's weird because when you do it chronological, they almost fall into a nice, now we might change a few here and there, but it almost falls into an interesting, okay, I can see it. I can see a drop like that. Well, here we go. Number 5. You see it up there, man. Kaufman's remake to the original 1980 absolute William Lustig's classic, Maniac, starring Elijah Wood. Who in their right mind thought this was going to work when that casting news dropped? I don't think anyone thought that was going to work. Especially hardcore fans of the original Maniac, which to this day, man, some of Tom Savini's work is, man, it's just something else. But Elijah Wood, man, he does stuff in here, man. I was rewatching this last night, and man, there were times still, the things that happen on film in this movie. You still got the griminess of New York. You still got a lot of things inherent into the original, right? Are in here. But the standout, or maybe it's a French director, I don't know, that might help it. Aja's name's on this too. Go figure. And he's had his hand in remakes. But anyways, look, you want a good solid remake, one that will cause you to turn away a few times, like the original. It don't get much better than this, but I could talk and talk and talk. I'm gonna review this like a month from now or something in BodyBags. This one and another one in this list. And so that was actually, Maniac dropped in 12. That was a 2012 film. In 07, Rob Zombie smacked us with his remake to maybe one of the greatest slashers ever, and that is, of course, his remake to Halloween. Now, why is it in my top 5? Well, one, I think it's one of the better remakes out there for sure, but I'm pretty knowledgeable on the story surrounding much of this production and its initial conceived pitch to the Weinsteins. And when you understand what Rob's pitch was, I'm telling you, this could have been so much different in terms of what we receive. You think about this movie, it often feels like two movies. Well, that's because they are two movies. You basically get the whole first half, which is young Michael in the insane asylum. You get the breakout, and then boom, that's one movie released Halloween. The next Halloween is the ode to or the nod to John Carpenter, which is the second film, Michael in Haddonfield. They didn't buy the pitch, so he was forced to basically take two ideas, cram it into one movie. It would have been so awesome, and that would have changed the complete of what H2 was. Now, I have my own thoughts on H2, and that's for another Crazy 5's, which actually may be coming up, but looking at 2's. This movie, man, I don't care what anyone says. There's a lot of Rob Zombie haters. This deserves to be at the top of the heap in terms of remakes. Just saying, and by the way, yeah, I did see it in the theater. Number 3, coming out in just the year before, in 2006, Alexandre Aja comes into my top 5. Number 3, going chronological, right? But his remake to Wes Craven's classic, The Hills Have Eyes. There was a time when I didn't think much about this. I watched it once, I was like, eh. But then I discovered High Tension by Aja. And I knew I had this on my shelf, and I thought, what? I really need to go back and revisit this. And my whole thought process started to change real fast. This is mean-spirited, man. It may not be as mean in parts as Maniac remake, but man, this is pretty mean. And I have to give it to Aja, man. With a great nod to Wes. In fact, Wes Craven's audio commentary is on this. Can anyone out there tell me another remake that the original director was so intimately involved that he even was willing to do a separate commentary track for the film, aside from the director and producer and that whatnot? But Wes with I think the producer, he has his own commentary track on this movie. And it's not even his movie; it's Aja's movie. This, man, I had this on last night. God, this movie impresses me more and more every time I see it. Just saying. Okay, the 2, whatever you think of those 3, everything's debatable because everything in film is subjective. I don't think anyone can debate the merits of the last 2, which just so happens because of the year of the year they release. This is where they fall in line. So number 2, the master of body horror himself, 1986 remake to the old classic, The Fly. Cronenberg's The Fly. Man, if this isn't a work of just an I don't know what to say. You want to do a remake good, look at this film in comparison to the original film. I would go off on a limb and say this is, I would almost say this movie outdoes the original. Although the original has its creepy moments, that this really doesn't. I mean, it's different movies, but it's a remake, and it's Cronenberg showing off his love of love is a weird thing to say, but body horror, man meddling with science and really shouldn't be meddling with stuff, and the worst of all accidents. Cronenberg's The Fly sits at number 2 on my number 5 chronologically, but it might be there at number 2 even if I ordered this thing. And number 1, what do I think? I really do think this may be the greatest remake. This may be hands down the best remake ever. First coming out in 1978. Some of you know where I'm going now. This does outdo the original, I think. I think this. The cast is insane. Donald Sutherland, man, yeah. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. From 78. The cast on here, man. I mean, course, you got a commentary on here, Philip Coffin's commentary on this, but I mean, you're talking Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy, Brooke Adams, Donald Sutherland. There's a cameo too in the beginning. Oh, I always forget his name. Yeah. He's in Apocalypse Now. Anyways, he plays a priest swinging on a swing set. That has got to be one of the most subtly creepy moments in light of the horror that is coming. That this plague, there are no boundaries, man. Be it religion, it doesn't matter who you are, man. Even somebody like Donald Sutherland's character, it just, I mean, golly, the effects on this are so freaking outstanding. This has got to be, I would imagine on many people's list, the best remake out there of any remake, hands out. Now, obviously, there is a lot I mean, outside the top 5, I mean, you know, if I had to throw on this one almost came in. Tom Savini's 1990 remake of the original classic Night of the Living Dead. I never thought that one could ever really truly be redone. Tom Savini did a pretty freaking good job on that. But, you know, what are some of the others? I don't know. The Blob that's a fun remake. Is it as good as the original? I don't think so. But the effects are great to watch. It's a fun movie, man. There's tons, man. There's so many. But these are the 5. These are the 5. Invasion from 78, from 86, The Fly, Ajaz, The Hills Have Eyes. What a mean freaking movie. Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. And yeah, well, I mean, you know, you put it up against the monster remakes. You know, your Nightmare on Elm Street, your Friday the 13th, Texas Chains. The only one that you could really probably say is better than this one is the Texas Chainsaw remake. But I mean, I would go with this. I would go with this. But really, I mean, Zombie did a freaking, his pitch been, and starting off our top 5, Maniac. I think the success in this one is, I don't know if anyone really thought it would be a success. And Elijah Wood, man, he turns it in, and you know, that's too bad because it's a French director, it's a French film, and I wish the same could have happened for the Leatherface. But I think there was an instance where the studio probably got involved when they shouldn't have, and this one seems like the director had a lot more creative freedom to carry out his vision. So, you know, as far as remakes go, what do you think of the list? These are my 5. I think that if you're going to do a remake, you really, really, really do got to consider these 5 films in terms of what your point, your purpose in doing this. And yeah, you got a top 5 remakes? Put them down below for me. Let me see them. Right? Anyways, so we'll stop here. Next up, I really do think I'm going to go after your go-to 2s. 5 of them that are my go-to 2s that I would actually go to before I went to the original film. I don't know if I'm going to argue that the second one is necessarily better, but man, it's the one, it's my comfort food. It's the one that I'll just jump into before I put the original in. So that may be a fun 5 to look at. So now that I put this out there, I guess I got to live up to it. So anyways, crazy 5s. What do you think? You got any ideas? Drop the stuff down below as well. Hit the sub button, the like button, drop a comment. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much. I really, 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 really do appreciate it. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.